So here's is the point that I'm making with regard to the left. It's all about the power. It is not about fundamental principle. It's about how they gain and maintain power. I do not accept the honesty of the principles they supposedly promulgate. I think they are lying to you. I think they are lying to me. I think that if they believe this stuff, they are lying to themselves. I don't think that they hold any of these standards. I think that when people are convenient, then they get to outlive their bad acts. And when they are inconvenient, then we just dispose of them. And just to flex their power, every so often, you'll see the left just get somebody to issue an apology for no reason at all. Right? So Ilhan Omar never issued an apology for anything she's ever said. But the left will force Lin-Manuel Miranda to offer his latest apology. So remember, Lin-Manuel Miranda has been forced to sort of offer apologies for having written Hamilton. How dare he not make slavery the key issue in the founding of the United States in Hamilton? And he had to issue some apologies for that. Well, now Lin-Manuel Miranda is having to issue apologies for In the Heights, which is a racially diverse musical about people in Crown Heights in New York who are of minority persuasion. What did he do wrong? According to Variety.com, Lin-Manuel Miranda is now addressing criticism over the film's lack of Afro-Latino representation. In a statement posted to Twitter, Miranda apologized for not including more dark-skinned Afro-Latinos in the film's cast, especially in the leading roles. I started writing In the Heights because I didn't feel seen. And over the past 20 years, all I wanted was for us, all of us, to feel seen, Miranda's statement begins. I'm seeing the discussion around Afro-Latino representation in our film this weekend. It is clear many in our dark-skinned Afro-Latino community don't feel sufficiently represented within it, particularly among the leading roles. The discussion Miranda mentioned stems from a video article in The Root, published on Wednesday, which points out there are no dark-skinned Afro-Latinos in the film's leading roles. So, very important for him to apologize now. Miranda ended his statement by saying he would try to do better in the future. Meanwhile, the left is trying to cudgel apologies out of Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks is not sufficiently anti-racist. He's just not a racist. So NPR ran an op-ed from a person named Eric Deggans titled, "Tom Hanks is a non-racist. It's time for him to be anti-racist." See, they're just going to cudgel you into the corner. If you are a person who is a lifelong Democrat, but you have not done sufficient work, you have not done the work, they will cudgel you into the corner. Because again, it is not about principle. It is about power politics. It's about getting people on board for whatever your radical agenda is today. This article is pretty much a masterclass in this. Eric Deggans over at NPR, he writes, "First, I must note how much I love Tom Hanks as a performer, Hollywood citizen, an all-around stand-up guy. Of course, he's a consummate actor with 2 Oscars and starring roles in landmark films such as Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. He's been an outspoken advocate for gay rights and environmentalism. So when I saw he had recently written a guest essay for the New York Times calling for more widespread teaching about the Tulsa Race Massacre, I was sincerely heartened. Now I thought we'll see him examine how his work, so often focused on the achievements of virtuous, white, male Americans, may have made it tougher for tales about atrocities such as Tulsa to find similar space." You see, it turns out Saving Private Ryan was not about Tulsa, but it should have been about Tulsa. So Tom Hanks is a bad white man. But, says Eric Deggans, he didn't fully go there. Here's what he did say. Quote, "History was mostly written by white people about white people like me, while the history of black people, including the horrors of Tulsa, was too often left out. Until relatively recently, the entertainment industry, which helps shape what is history and what is forgotten, did the same. That includes projects of mine." Then he goes on to say he learned of Tulsa from an article in the New York Times last year. And another line later in the piece. "Today, I think historically based fiction entertainment must portray the burden of racism in our nation for the sake of the art form's claims to verisimilitude and authenticity." Says Eric Deggans, "These are wise words, but it is not enough." He built a career playing righteous white men. After many years of speaking out about race and media in America, I know the toughest thing for some white Americans is to admit how they were personally and specifically connected to the elevation of white culture above other cultures. But in Hanks's case, he's no average American, or average Hollywood star for that matter. Over the years, he has starred in a lot of big movies about historical events, including Saving Private Ryan, Greyhound, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, Bridge of Spies, and News of the World. He has served as producer or executive producer on even more films and TV shows based on American history, including Band of Brothers, The Pacific, John Adams, and From the Earth to the Moon. In other words, he's a baby boomer star who has built a sizable part of his career on stories about American white men doing the right thing. But the stories often leave out black contributions. They often leave out how black soldiers returned home from fighting in World War II to find out they weren't allowed to use the GI Bill to secure home loans in certain neighborhoods, or were cheated out of claiming benefits at all. So let's just be clear. This guy is now angry at Tom Hanks because Saving Private Ryan didn't end with a black member of the platoon going home and being rejected from the GI Bill, which would have fit seamlessly into the plot of the film. Obviously, he should have done that. No, Tom Hanks must be cudgeled. It's the difference between being a non-racist and being an anti-racist. He's saying it's time for folks like Hanks to be, quote unquote, anti-racist. If he really wants to make a difference, Hanks and other stars need to talk specifically about how their work has contributed to these problems and how they will change. It's all about Maoist struggle sessions. It's all about power. That's what we're focused on here at home. Who can we cudgel into doing what the left wants? Not confronting foreign adversaries, not strengthening America. How can we cudgel other Americans into doing what we want politically by upholding standards that are completely hypocritical and utterly inconsistent on every level? That's where we are. So good luck to us over the next few years. The battle for the culture is heating up. We here at the Daily Wire are making some big moves. So be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, because you're not going to want to miss a single moment.